Ladies and gentlemen, we have a terrific card going down next Saturday. UFC Paris. Main event, Money Moicano taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. Co-main event. Very big implications for the middleweight division. Imavov and Brendan Allen. It's going to be a great card. We got 14 fights lined up. We're 7 days out. I'm filming this on Saturday. We have no UFC card today. So we're going to go over the card next week. I'll give you my early leans. Let me tell you, I'm going to go through every single fight on this card. And I'm going to give you my early lean. I'll tell you what I'm thinking about the fight early. But these are not my official picks. If you want to wait towards the middle of the week on Wednesday, I'll release my official picks that are going to be going down for UFC Paris. Stay tuned to the channel, like and subscribe. But let's get into it without any further ado. We got a lot of fights to talk about. First fight of the night, we got Zhelesnyakova and Chris Duncan. Before I get into this, you may have noticed I'm not on the UFC website anymore. I put together these amazing graphics because the UFC website is so bad that they can't even update their own fights. They're so bad they can't even update what fights are going to be happening on a card that's 7 days away. So I had to go ahead and put together my own graphics here and make a little slideshow for y'all. But let's get back into it. Zhelesnyakova and Chris Duncan. It's going to be a good fight. This is a great way to start off the card because, number one, I love this Zhelesnyakova guy. I remember him from the Contender Series. I bet on him on the Contender Series as an underdog. He got it done, and it was a round 1 KO against Dylan Salvador, who is one of these Glory kickboxing guys, and he knocked him out. So you know this guy is solid on the feet. He's got fast hands, just an explosive athlete overall, strong hips, solid takedown defense. He won his UFC debut. Should have been a unanimous decision. I don't know what the judges have on Timmy Kwamba or what Timmy Kwamba has on the judges because he gets split decisions out of absolutely nowhere. He dominated that fight, in my opinion. Clearly won at least 2 out of the 3 rounds, and he should have got a unanimous decision win there, but it was a split. Either way, he won it. Chris Duncan, on the other hand, was looking good in the UFC. Till his last time out, he lost to Manuel Torres. Got taken down, got his back taken, and got choked out in the first round. Now, the thing with Chris Duncan, there's a lot to like and there's a lot to hate. Number one, what you like to see is the improvements. He's training at American Top Team for the past 2, 3, maybe 4 years, ever since he got into the UFC, and he's improved. I mean, his overall game has improved. He looks to be a little bit more smart in there, chop the legs, stick to the jab, go for a takedown, just kind of grind you out. I mean, when he really started, he was a guy who was looking for the KOs, and he's kind of dumbed down his game a little bit, but it's picking up some wins for himself. The things you hate is the guy can get hit. The guy can get hit on the feet, and sometimes when he gets hit, he gets put out. He got put out by Borshev on the Contender Series the first time. He should have been put out by Charlie Campbell the second time, but he found a way to win that one. And here he is. I think he's not as good of a striker as Zhelesnyakova on the feet. I think he's going to need to mix in some type of wrestling game to give himself a chance. I think if he stands and strike with Oki, he can have his moments, but I think Oki's just going to be too explosive, too powerful, too quick, and I think he'll probably get the better of Chris Duncan on the feet. And I don't really see Chris Duncan, just Habibing him on the ground. I mean, maybe if his improvements have really gone that far, we could maybe see it, but I just don't see it. So I think Zhelesnyakova probably takes this one. He's my early lean for the first fight of the night. Moving on, we got Nora Cornolle taking on Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Now, I tried to fade Jacqueline her last fight against Josiane Nunes. Why? Because I just thought she's still fairly green in her MMA career, her professional MMA career. And she showed me a lot in that fight. Now, I thought it was a close fight. I thought Josiane Nunes was the one pushing the pressure, probably landing the better shots. But Josiane Nunes is what? 5'3"? She's short. Very short, and all she really has is an overhand left with an unbelievable amount of pressure. I thought Cavalcanti looked solid fighting off of her back foot. She has a great jab. She has good low kicks. She didn't really get to use them that much in that fight because the pressure was a little bit too much, but she showed off her hands a little bit more than I was expecting her to. She has a great jab. The right hand down the middle was great. The uppercut as Nunes was coming in. So she looked good in that fight. Now she's making a quick turnaround here against Cornolle. And Cornolle's a girl that has already lost to Cavalcanti. It's her only loss on her professional record. And as you can see here, she's 7 years older. So I don't know if there's a ton of improvements to be made in the realm for Cornolle. I got to believe that Cavalcanti's probably getting better at a more rapid pace than Nora Cornolle. Now, not to mean that, Cornolle can't win this fight, because I think it's going to be a stand-up battle, and I think both girls are solid enough to get a victory here. I think it's a pretty close one. But on the feet, I think Cavalcanti's just a little bit more sharp. I think Cornolle's a little bit more of a brawler. She likes to get inside and mix it up there, and she likes to be in the clinch, land those knees. I think Cavalcanti will probably be able to pick her apart at range. Not to a point where she should be, a minus 195 favorite. I would probably more line it up, maybe slight favorite. Minus 130, minus 140 for Cavalcanti. 2-1 is a little bit generous, but I will take Cavalcanti for an early lean for the early pick. I think she's just a little bit more sharp, and I think her improvements are still coming along, so I will take her for the pick. Moving along, we got some flyweights. We got Daniel Barez and Victor Alamirano. Now, Victor Alamirano, not really a guy that's going to get the fans out of their seats. This guy is 33 years old. Now, he's the younger fighter here, which is pretty crazy, but I'll talk about Daniel Barez in a second. Victor Alamirano, not a lot of pop in his shots, but he's just a tough guy that's going to stay in your face. He'll mix in some wrestling, and he's going to throw a good amount of volume. Now, his wins in the UFC aren't very great. It was Vinicius Salvador, and I think it was Daniel Lacerda or Daniel Da Silva, the guy that from Shoot the Box that hasn't won a fight, but he gets finished every time. Those are his wins. His losses aren't bad, but he's just doesn't have a very high ceiling. You can just watch him and be like, okay, he can pick up a couple wins against the bottom of the barrel, but he's not going to beat anybody that's that great. Daniel Barez, on the other hand, is a guy that I liked coming into the UFC. Now, I hate that he's so old. He's 35, damn near 36, and at flyweight, that's not good. But he's a fun guy to watch because he'll march you down, throw these hard boxing combinations. He'll go to the body. He'll rip upstairs. And I thought he should have had a TKO victory against João Filho. Should have had it. If Filho isn't like being a little weenie on the ground and like he got dropped, I think it was by a body shot, and Barez led him up. He's like, come on, you got to stand up because I'm not going to the ground with you. And Filho took his time, like to the point where I think the ref, I forget who it was, but the ref probably could have stopped it because Filho was not really trying to get back up. And then Filho does get back up, gets a second wind, and finishes him on the ground. So Barez, to me, is a kill or be killed type of fighter. And I like that, especially at flyweight, because I think you got to be a little bit dangerous, but he can get finished himself. He's got a solid chin, but I think he got hurt to the body in that one, got taken down, got choked out. So this one's going to be a scrap. I'm going to side with Daniel Barez for an early pick. I like him just because he's a little bit more dangerous, but I got to respect, Alamirano, just his durability, his ability to go into the later rounds and win rounds. So I got to respect that. I'm going to lean Barez for an early pick, but that's probably a little bit biased just because I like the way he fights a little bit more. But yeah, probably not one I'm not going to get too invested in, considering these are two old flyweights, and you never know really what could happen. So we'll move on from there. We got Eileen Perez and Daria Zhelesnyakova. The Iron Lady, Daria Zhelesnyakova. Every girl's nickname is like the Iron Lady, or isn't that? Whatever. We'll move on. Zhelesnyakova. UFC debut her last time out against Montserrat Rendon. Very unimpressive because she was getting taken down by like a 35-year-old, 36-year-old woman who has really no athletic capabilities, but she was just able to muscle her up. She's going to have a lot harder time here with Eileen Perez because Eileen actually has some athleticism to her. She's got some explosiveness to her, and she's got a lot better wrestling than Montserrat Rendon. So I think Perez probably get takedowns here, but if she can't, or if she doesn't try to, she's going to get pieced up. Like, I like Eileen's aggression, and I like the way she fights. I'm a big fan. Big fan of Eileen Perez. I like her. But she's still coming along with her techniques. She's still coming along with her striking, and she's made a lot of mistakes on the ground. Like, she can get takedowns, but she can get reversed, and she can lose position. It's just all aggression from Eileen, which I love. I love that, but she can be susceptible to making mistakes. And if you make mistakes multiple times in a fight, you could be the better fighter, you could still lose. I think Eileen's probably the better fighter here just because she has the strong wrestling game and she can bring that into this matchup. And we've seen Daria struggle against some wrestlers. Like her only loss was against Melissa Dixon, Melissa Mullins. She got taken down, beaten up. And then in her UFC debut, she still showed like some lack of takedown defense. So that's probably going to hurt her in this matchup. I can understand why Eileen is a favorite in this one. Might be a little bit juicy on Eileen because if she can't get the takedowns or if she keeps making mistakes, then Daria might be the one landing a little bit more damage throughout the fight like she did in her last fight where she got a win. And she trains in Paris. She is Russian, but she trains in Paris out of the MMA factory. So she's got a little bit of a home field advantage in Paris. Eileen, her UFC debut was in Paris. She lost. So she's probably looking to get a little bit of redemption out in Paris. I will take Perez for an early pick. I just think the rest is going to be a little bit too much. Next up, we got Taylor Lapilus and Vince Morales. Now, Taylor Lapilus, I think he's a damn good fighter. I think he's unbelievably long. I don't know how this guy's so long. He's got a 6'1" inch reach. 73-inch reach equates to 6'1". He's 5'6". Dude's got straight up pillars for arms. Vince Morales, on the other hand, coming back to the UFC after getting cut, picks up some wins on the regional scene, but that regional scene, a lot of regional scenes in the UFC just ain't good. They just ain't good. And if you go back to the regional scene after you get cut by the UFC, you better win. Like, if you don't win, you probably ain't getting re-signed ever again. Like, you just can't lose. So for the fact that he's gone out there and got wins, that's good, but it's kind of expected. Now, he wasn't the original matchup, but Morales, he's a capable fighter. I just don't really think he's super dangerous in this spot. Like, Taylor Lapilus is a guy that has rock-solid takedown defense. He has a crazy ability to keep you at range with his jab, with his kicks, and you really just can't get inside on him. And I think Vince Morales needs to get inside on him to the point where he's in boxing range, where he's in clinch range, where he can land strikes in the clinch, look for takedowns, and I just don't see it happening here. I just don't see it. So I'm going to take Taylor Lapilus for this pick. They love him in France, too. Paris, France loves them, some Taylor Lapilus. If you watch the last card he was on in Paris, they love him. I think he'll have a lot of momentum coming into this one. A lot of fans cheering for him, and I think he gets it done. Give me Taylor Lapilus. Umar Sy and Dawoon Jung. One-way traffic in this one. I mean, you got all the momentum on Umar Sy's side. 10-0, never lost. First-round sub in his UFC debut. Dawoon Jung, 3 losses in a row. Now, Dawoon Jung was looked at as like somebody that could be something in the light heavyweight division. And then he got knocked out by Jacoby. And then he got taken down a bunch by Devin Clark. Lost to Devin Clark. And then he got beaten up by Carlos Olberg and choked out in the 3rd round. So here he is. He's taking on a guy that's relatively new in the UFC, but has a lot of hype. Kind of looks to me like they're trying to set up Umar Sy with a guy that they kind of want to get rid of. They kind of want to get rid of Dawoon Jung. That's what I'm seeing in this matchup. But as far as their fight styles go, Dawoon Jung, he's a striker, likes to get on the inside, kind of make it dirty, land some elbows. And his takedown defense isn't great. Like, Devin Clark was inside him all night. You can clip that. He was inside him all night. Just taking him down, doing whatever he wanted to him. And Dawoon Jung was a favorite in that fight. I think Umar Sy can probably do the same thing. Like, Umar is a big, strong dude. Crazy reach. Now, I don't think he's the greatest striker, but he has a very solid grappling game. I think he just takes this fight to the ground, does whatever he wants to him, ground and pounds him, probably chokes him out, and he gets it done. So give me Umar Sy for an early pick, another France guy, Paris, getting it done on the card. There's going to be a lot of these guys, and I think they're trying to set him up for a victory. Even though they tried to set up the Mexicans on Noche, didn't work out. They try to set people up, it doesn't always work out, okay? But I think this one does. Give me Umar Sy. Ludovic Klein and Roosevelt Roberts. Very disappointing that Ludovic Klein is going to have to fight another one of these fights because I want to see Ludovic Klein get like steps up in competition. He had a step up in competition his last time out, and he passed it with flying colors. And then an opponent drops out, and here he is taking on Roosevelt Roberts. He's a big favorite here. Ludwig Klein's obviously the pick as far as how this fight goes. I think Roosevelt Roberts is probably just going to get muscled up. Like, Ludwig Klein is so short for the lightweight division. You know, he's 6'2". Roberts is 6'2". Ludwig's 5'7". But he's so strong, he's explosive, and he's a good kickboxer. You have to be a good kickboxer if you're that short, because you have to be able to find range, find your entries, and I think he has it. He's a big favorite here. Obviously, he's going to look very short compared to Roosevelt, who is dangerous, who does have some pop in his shots, but he just hasn't done it at the UFC level, and I don't think he gets it done here. So I got to go with Ludwig Klein for the pick. Not really going to spend too much time on this one because it looks pretty straightforward. Give me Ludwig Klein. Ivan Cutelaba and Ivan Erslan. Very weird matchup. It's always weird when you get an Ivan Cutelaba fight because this guy is so hit or miss, and he's just been missing lately. He's just been missing. You know, like he's 1-4 in his last 5. He's getting knocked out. He's taking beatings. Now, his last fight against Felipe Lins, he actually showed me a little bit something because usually in Cutelaba's fights, he's either finishing you or he's getting finished. He actually made it to a decision his last time out. Now, Felipe Lins, I don't think is the greatest fighter, but he's a capable fighter who's improving, and I think is better at 205. He looks pretty good. He's on a nice little win streak, so it's not a terrible loss. But the thing with Cutelaba is he's all gas, no brakes, and his cardio can fall off, and then he becomes a punching bag. Now, he's already kind of a punching bag at the beginning of the fight, but he's there to hit you back, and that's where the dangerous comes in. And then you get into round 2 and round 3, that explosiveness, that aggression starts to die down a little bit, and then he's there to be hit. He doesn't have a lot of head movement. His entries are not very good. He's there to be hit. So I think Ivan Erslan kind of just needs to survive a round. Now, he's probably going to have to defend some takedowns, which I don't know that he's going to be that great at doing, but I think he's just got to survive. He's going to try to make it to the second and the third round, and then he could start to unload. Now, he could unload in the first round and just try to go for the KO to start off, and I think he could have some success. But probably to be the most cautious game plan would be to do what I said before. Now, I'm going to go with Ivan Erslan for the pick, for the early pick, just because, you know, I've done my time betting on Ivan Cutelaba. Just ain't there, man. Maybe I'm writing him off too soon because he is still 30 years of age. He's the younger guy. Got a lot more UFC experience. But I don't know, man. I just don't really see the improvements. I don't really see much going on with his game. So I think he's just always been the same fighter. And I think Ivan Erslan can beat that fighter. So I'm going to take Ivan Erslan. From the tape that I've watched from him, he's okay. He's nothing too crazy, but he's got power. And he's fought a decent level of competition. Not anybody like too great, but a decent level, more than you see a lot of these guys in like Contender Series. So it's fair to say that he can get a shot in the UFC. Give me Erslan. Move on. We got Perez, Ziam, and Matt Frevola. Another France guy here in Ziam. Ziam, it might be the most frustrating fighter to watch, honestly, because this guy's good, but he's not like, you know, you can throw a highlight reel together of Perez Ziam. Like, okay, what are you going to throw a highlight reel of? Him popping a jab, popping a front kick, holding him up against the cage. Like, he just wins fights. It's kind of how a lot of these France guys are. They're just kind of boring kickboxers that are sharp. And it works. It does get you some wins. I think he's going to have the fight taken to him here with Matt Frevola. And I'm interested to see how he takes it because Matt Frevola is a guy that's very dangerous, but he can also be hurt. Like I don't want to say a glass cannon, but he's going to go for the knockout. He's going to go for a highlight, and sometimes he's on the wrong end. And we saw that with Benoit Saint-Denis. We saw that not really with Terrence McKinney, but like we saw him get knocked out right away. So how do I look at this fight? I think Frevola can mix in some wrestling, but I just don't know that he's going to because he's not really a guy that – he kind of started out that way, but he's not really a guy that's his first game plan nowadays. He's kind of looking to go in there and strike with you and try to knock you out. So I don't know that he shoots a takedown right away. I know he shot a couple on Benoit, but Benoit was so strong and he'd just be able to get back up to his feet. We could see it here, but for Ziam, I think he's still improving. I know his takedown defense has improved. And I know that's something that he has needed to improve, because when he got taken down and choked out by McKinney in the first round, like, that was a bad look. And then he eventually got cut. Now he's back, and he looks good. I'm going to lean towards the hometown guy here in Ziam. But this is one I want to look at a little bit more. I just think overall, Ziam being the taller, younger guy, it's going to be a little bit more technical, maybe a little bit more durable. And I just don't know that I can trust Matt Frevola to go in there with game plans of, like, I need to win. You know, like, I think he's kind of at the point of his career where he's 34. He had the big fight with Benoit Saint-Denis. He lost. If he had won that fight, then it's like you're still climbing the rankings. But he lost that fight. And now I think he's just kind of in this mindset of, like, I'm going to go out there, put on a fun fight. I'm going to go for the knockout. It might not come to fruition, but I'm going to put on fun fights and make my name as a fun fighter to watch. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So for now, I'm going to go with Ziam, but definitely want to look at it a little bit more. Morgan Charriere and Gabriel Miranda. So weird, because Morgan Charriere is this guy with, like, a lot of hype out of France. He's 19-10. 19-10-1. Like, that's his professional record, which is, you know, on MMA, you get a lot of records of guys with, like, a lot of losses, and it is what it is. And I think that's kind of the case here with Charriere, because he's had a good amount of fights. You know, he's 30 fights in, and he's only 20, almost 29. It's a lot of fights, but I think this guy is solid, and I think he's probably going to knock out Gabriel Miranda. Miranda's only win in the UFC was Shane Young. I don't think very highly of Shane Young, just to say the least. Miranda's game is to just get you down and try to submit you. And after that, if he can't get it, he's a punching bag that's going to get finished. Benoit knocked him out. Miranda has his moments, because the takedown threat is there, and he'll throw, like, a hard overhand left, overhand right, and he can land. There's not a lot of pop in him, and he's looking to just flash you upstairs and then flash you upstairs. What is he saying? Is that what I'm saying? Flash you with a punch upstairs, take you down, and try to choke you. I think Charriere is very strong with his hips. I know the France guy's another one of these kickboxers. I think Charriere is a little bit more fun. But they work hard on their takedown defense. They want to keep the fight on the feet and use their striking. I think his takedown defense is solid enough here. I think he can keep it striking. And I think he can probably knock out Gabriel Miranda. So give me the last pirate, Morgan Charriere. The Paris crowd loves him as well. So just keep an eye out for that. Kevin Jousset and Brian Battle. This is one I'm kind of going back and forth on. Jousset is from France, but he is a city kickboxing guy. And I do think there is a possibility he can win this fight. And it's not like he's a big underdog. He's plus 125. But I think he's just got to go into this one and move forward. He's got to move forward, and he's got to cut angles. Or not cut angles, but cut off Brian Battle. Because Brian Battle's a guy that kind of likes to stick to the outside, uses athleticism, uses footwork, uses kicks to keep you at range. And ever so often, he'll come in with the hands. He can grapple, but he's not really the guy that goes in for takedowns all that often. More so defensively. If you take him down, he's going to look for chokes. And I think in this fight, he might try to look to take Jousset down, but I doubt it. If Jousset can cut him off from the cage and get his hands going, I think he's got a good chance to win this fight, because Jousset has the ability to go 3 rounds at a high pace. He has a great jab. He's got very technical striking, I believe. He's got good judo throws as well. He's not a fish out of water on the ground. So I don't think there's anything that you can dislike from Jousset at this point. And I don't think there's a lot you can dislike from Brian Battle. Now, the only knock on him in the UFC is that he got taken down a bunch by Fakhretdinov, held down. That was Fakhretdinov. It was a short notice fight for Battle, so I kind of just throw that one out. I don't think Jousset's going to be going in there with a Fakhretdinov game plan. So I think this one's kind of a 50-50. I'm going to lean towards Kevin Jousset at this point, just because I think it's a 50-50 and he's a slight underdog. But I think it's a toss-up, and it could go either way. But right now, I think I got to lean with Jousset. William Gomis and Joe Anderson Brito. Now, Brito has been my baby for a while. been my baby. Cashed a big 5-unit play on me for me his last time out against Jack Shore, because I'm not a Jack Shore guy at all. And I love me some Joanderson Brito. Now, the problem with Brito in this fight is I hate William Gomis. I hate his fight style, but I respect it. I respect it because it's like, holy shit, dude, the level of discipline it takes to just be that boring is crazy. But he's got it. He's got that discipline, man. He's a tall dude, 6 foot, long, uses his range very well. Like, very bladed stance. He'll just chop you with the front leg, and he's just going to force you to make entries into his pocket. And when he does that, he has great movement to get out, to step back, counter with a left hand. And I think it could be a very frustrating fight for Joanderson Brito in this spot, just because he's a guy that likes to get into these brawls. He likes to just go in there and take your face off. Now, Brito is definitely the more dangerous guy in this matchup, and I think he could impose his physicality on Gomis, but I think Gomis, he's the bigger dude, taller. It's going to be a little bit tougher to take down. I think Brito needs to get on the inside. He needs to wear him down and eventually take over as the fight goes on. If he starts this out and Gomis just able to do what he wants in the first round, it's going to be tough to come back from that. So I think Brito needs to take the fight to him immediately. And from what I've seen from Brito, it's what he does. So I can trust Brito to do what he has been doing, and I think he will. So I will take Brito for the early pick, but this line is a little bit scary just because I know the way that Gomis can slow fights down and lull you into this slow kickboxing battle where he's just a little bit better. So also, what the hell was Gomis doing last time out, like weighing in 3 pounds under? What the hell? Like, what's wrong with you, bro? Another Paris guy. I'm going to go with Brito for the pick, though. Nasruddin Imavov and Brendan Allen. This one's kind of got me torn as well. A lot of good matchups on this card. Brendan Allen, he's a guy that's just keeps winning. He keeps winning, and I like that he's finishing a lot of fights. Now, his last time out against Chris Curtis went to a decision, very close decision. And ultimately, I thought he won the fight because Chris Curtis got injured with like 10 seconds left. Otherwise, I think Chris Curtis may have gotten his hand raised. The thing is, I think Chris Curtis is like a terrible matchup for Brendan Allen. I think it might be one of the worst matchups he can have because Chris Curtis is a very good boxer, which Brendan Allen kind of struggles with his boxing. He's there, like he's still improving, but at kicking range, he's a little bit better. But Chris Curtis is a guy that just brings the pressure, and he's going to make you box with him. So I think that's a liability for Brendan a little bit, and I think that's why Chris Curtis is such a bad matchup for him. And then Chris Curtis he's tough to take down. That has kind of gotten a little bit easier over the years, but he's tough to take down, and he has no neck. And Brendan Allen's best asset is that rear naked choke. So I think that's a tough matchup for Brendan Allen. Now, going into this one, I also think it's a tough matchup for Brendan Allen because Imavov is so fluid on the feet with his movement that he's very hard to hit. He's very explosive when he decides to engage. He has solid takedown defense. He has good wrestling himself. And I don't know. I mean, it's a very tough one. I'm going to lean Imavov to start off. But if there's anything on film where I see Imavov giving up his back off a takedown or losing position where Allen can capitalize in those positions, like you just give Brendan Allen your back once, it could be wraps. If you have a neck, if you're not Chris Curtis and you have a neck. Brendan Allen's very good on the ground, and he's improving, has improved a lot, and he's still improving with his stand-up, his kickboxing. He's there to be hit a little bit in those exchanges, and I wish he wouldn't like engage in those a little bit more, but he's a fun fighter to watch at the end of the day. I'm going to lean Imavov to start off just because I think his movement's going to be a little bit too much. This is a 3-rounder, and I think Imavov's explosiveness is probably going to be able to get him the first, maybe the second. And I think he probably wins the fight. So I'll take Imavov for an early pick. Lastly, we got Moicano, Renato Moicano. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a biased one. You know, I just really can't break down these fights. Like I tried to tell you on the Gilbert Burns pick against Sean Brady, like it's biased. Like I'm not going to pick against our guys. And I can't do that here. But I can still break it down to you and try to be as unbiased as I can. So right off the bat, Renato Moicano's the early pick. He's going to be my pick, but it's a biased pick. I want him to win. He's part of the Homa Fight team. That's what it is. Breaking down this fight, I think Moicano needs to survive the first 2 to 3 rounds. He needs to survive because Benoit Saint-Denis is just a one-way train. Like he's just going to be coming at you with reckless abandon. And unless you have the Dustin Poirier abilities to survive, not only survive, but also land a big knockout punch and put him unconscious, you're going to be there feeling that heat. You're going to be there feeling that heat because you have to put this guy, you have to separate this guy from conscious to get him out of there. Benoit's grappling, I think, is very good. I think it's very good. He's very offensive with his takedowns and just he wants to get you out of there as soon as he can. On the feet, a lot of holes. We saw that in the last time out against Dustin Poirier. Now, I don't know that Moicano has the hands to exploit that like Dustin Poirier did, but that doesn't mean he can't hurt him on the feet, can't touch him up on the feet. Then on the ground, I think Benoit needs to be on top. I think if you allow Moicano to get on top of you, that's a bad spot to be in because I think Moicano is one of the best at when he's on top, staying on top and getting into positions that are beneficial to him. Now, I don't know that Moicano has, I think his takedowns have improved, but I don't know that he's going to have the explosiveness, strength to get Benoit to the ground. And if he does, he needs to keep it there. And I think that's going to be tough too because the sweeps that I was watching with Benoit and Matt Frevola just looked effortless. So I think this is a very tough matchup for Moicano. We know Moicano is getting a little bit older, and Benoit is coming off the loss. There was the staff thing with the Poirier fight, and he was looking like he was winning it. He was dominating, and then bang, he started to slow down, and that could just be Poirier ability to fight off the takedowns, to do damage, and then finally find the knockout, or it could have just been from the staff. We'll find out. It's a 5-rounder, but if I'm Moicano, I know I got to go in there. I got to do my best to survive early on and try to take this fight deeper into the water. So Moicano's a dog. He's the underdog, but he's also a dog. And I think he's got a good shot to win this one, but it's a biased pick. Moicano's my biased pick of the week. And he'll be my early pick. He'll probably be my official pick. Just I got to support the boys. So appreciate y'all for watching. That's the end of the video. I'll be back here with a Dana White Contender Series preview in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe to view the next video. Official picks later in the week. Best bets video on Friday. We got a great card this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to it. Little Paris midday card. Let's go, boys. Appreciate y'all. Till next time. Hey, Job Picks.